How you doing? Today is Friday, the 19th of April, 2025. Just wanted to go through a little presentation here in regards to seller financing and on a property that is currently listed, just to kind of show people what seller financing can do for a seller on a property. You are looking at the property right here. It's in Newark, New Jersey. It's a two-family. Looks like it was totally renovated. We'll go through the pictures really quickly. So it looks like someone bought this, fixed it up, and is now trying to sell it. And when you use seller financing, you can use it when you are a fix and flipper, or if you're just someone that has lived in a house for a certain amount of time and then wants to sell it. So just wanted to kind of give you an idea. Really nice house, really fixed up, you know, really nicely. And, they are selling this. And as you can see here, the asking price is 475,000. Has about six bedrooms, three bathrooms. Um, Been on the market just over a month, and we'll just go down to some of the financial details here. This is how they break down in terms of what it would cost, with a 20% down payment and what your payment would look like. So let me bring up the presentation here. So there's my contact information. If after seeing this, you'd like to, talk about this or talk about another deal where this can possibly be structured on, please reach out to me. Um, so like I said, it's a two-family house and offering seller financing, you could expect anywhere between a 10 to 20% down payment. National average is actually about just about 25% on seller finance transactions. But for this example, we're just going to use if we received 15% as a down payment. Now, that 15% would go directly to the seller of this property. That's cash in their pocket. And again, I don't know if there's an underlying mortgage, if this is on free and clear, but just trying to show um, the actual numbers and how they break down. And then we can, talk about the specifics, if there is an underlying lien and how it works with this as well. But this money would, either way would go into the seller's pocket. The financing terms on this, once you take 71,250 off of that purchase price, you're left with the note amount of $403,750. And when you do seller finance, when you create seller financing, you don't write it at the rate that's currently in the market. You can offer a higher rate, a premium rate, so to speak, because this is an amenity. This is something that, is not offered on every property. And due to that fact, we can, charge a little bit higher of a rate. So on this, I'm doing 10% for 360 months. That equals out to a $3,543 and 20 cents payment per month. Now, that is what the person that creates the note is going to make each and every month. So, after the first year, on top of the 71,250, you're going to make over $42,000 just in cash flow. In this scenario, this note seller does not have any expenses. The only expense that you could occur on this is a servicing fee. Servicing fees are usually less than $50 a month, but there's no, maintenance that you have to fix up, any um, utility bills or anything like that, water bills, anything like that is not the responsibility of the note holder. And so after, the first year, you would have collected over $113,000 on this particular deal. Now, again, I don't know if there's an underlying mortgage on this. I don't know what someone, the owner of this property is looking for once they flip the property. But in this instance, like I said, you made $113,000 after year one. And then after that, you have an unpaid balance still owed to you of over $400,000, and which is something that can be liquidated. You can liquidate the whole note, meaning the full note, or you can liquidate a partial of the note. And I'm going to show you that in a second on a amortization schedule. And so let's just say you didn't want to sell the note. You were happy making $113,000 for the first year, and you wanted to continue, collecting that $42,000 per year on this. After 5 years, you would have collected a total of $283,841.70. Now that includes the 71,250 and all of the payments that would have been collected over the first 5 years of you holding this note. And then again, at that particular time, you are still owed. Look, after 5 years, if you see on here, you're still owed almost $390,000. Again, which can be liquidated either fully or partially. So you can see how much more money you would make, even if this house had no mortgage on it and somebody was selling it after they paid their closing costs and realtor fees and things of that nature. They probably walk away around with around $430,000, if it was free and clear. And then you have to figure in, the tax, the tax burden on that. But as you can see here, the type of money that you can make after 5 years, and then you're still owed another 25 years worth of payments. And that's what this 389, 918, 48 amount is. So let me go over to the amortization schedule on this and show you what can be done when you don't fully sell the note. You may not want to sell the note and just cash out of the deal. The reason being is that, let's just say after the first year, there's 348 payments remaining. And so there'll be, roughly a balance of $401, um, 400, 401, 400,506.18 would be the balance. And what would somebody pay you for the balance of that loan? I'm going to go over to a chart here that kind of, goes through that. So after that 348 months, you can see from the chart here at 10%, you could sell 174 of those payments. So that's basically half of the 348 payments that you could sell for $290,000. And that would give the person that is buying this from you, who is paying $290,000, they would get a 12% return on that. That's a really good rate of return, a really good yield on a yearly basis for $290,000, where all you have to do is collect the payment. And your risk in this particular deal is right around what, maybe 55%, 60%. Let's just say like the property didn't improve in value, it just stayed the same. Let's see how much they would be into this deal for based on the value of the property. 60%. And again, that's taken into consideration that the value of this property does not go up. So each year that this person's $290,000 is invested in this particular property, their risk most likely is coming down. So they're not really exposed at all. If something, did happen and they had to take the property back, they have enough cushion there that they could still, get from under the property, sell the property, a number of other exit strategies that they could do to protect their $290,000 investment. But that on top of, after that first year that we talked about, let's go back to the slide here. After the first year of 113,000 plus another $290,000, now look at what, you've made after the first year. And then you're still owed an additional 174 payments, because after that 174 payments that this person purchased, the monthly payment is going to revert back to this particular note seller. So they can then continue to collect that money over the next 174 months. So I mean, 290 plus 113,000. That is, over $400,000 that you've made in the property, and that's after, year one, and you're still owed a significant amount based on the amortization schedule, which I'll go back to. See, you're only selling this portion here, this red portion. All of this is still owed, from this payment all the way to the end is still owed to the investor. And if we look at the full, so after the first year, which is 12 months and 174 months, so that would be a total of 196 months. So after 196 months, look how much is still owed to this once it comes back to you. Once it comes back to the note seller, there's still going to be an unpaid balance of over $304,000. And and people may say, well, what if a person doesn't keep it this long? There's a certain amount that the person with the partial is owed. Let's just say after about 97 months, they're owed maybe like 100 and let's say 97. We'll go to the chart. We'll look at it. After 97, that person's owed 190,000, over $190,000. But then there's still a balance. There's still a difference between that 190 and the 304 that would come back to the investor, the note holder, I should say, that originally sold it. So you can make way more money when doing seller financing. And then too, also, in the case of, let's say that this person bought this property with hard money. There is some type of lien underneath because that's what they usually do, buy with private financing or something like that to do the fix up, and sell. This would still work for them. Let's go back here. So let's just say they have a year to get the money back to the investor. So let's just say maybe after, instead of 348 months, after 6 months, so that's 354. And let me see what I have to see what the balance would be after 6 months. So after 6 months, let's take that number. Ah, oh, the numbers went away. Oh, man. Mm, so 400,000, 359. Sorry about that. So usually, if a property is worth 475, once it's fixed up, an investor most likely does not want to be in the property for more than 70% of that, which is 332,500. So let's just say, they wanted to get that to pay off the investor, just what that amount would be. So 332,500. So how many payments would they need to sell to get someone, someone who's purchasing this to buy it at that amount? They would buy it at that amount, so that would pay off this underlying loan, and then now you're out of the deal completely. You know, how many months would you need to sell on this not to have to owe anything on the underlying mortgage? And again, you've already collected the $71,250 plus 6 months worth of payments. So that's close to, that's over $80,000 that you've collected. Uh, let's say 190 payments, 195, 285. So roughly about 285 payments would get this investor who purchased this at 332,500 to get your underlying lien paid off. You could sell 285 payments, but you still have what, about 70 some payments still remaining that you're entitled to. And that those 70 payments equal a certain amount of money that can be paid to you as well. If the person who's, you know, that if the person that's in the property refinances or anything like that at that particular time, anytime in these 285 payments, there's a certain amount again that goes to the person that paid this 332, and then the balance, goes to um, the person that sold this partial note to this investor. And it's a considerable amount of payments, what, 70 some payments at $3,500 a month. That's a good portion of it as well. And you've collected, like I said, the 70,000 plus 6 month worth of payments, and you're still owed some payments in the future. So, um, this is what can be done when you're offering seller financing. Again, we can look at any particular situation and run the numbers. This was just an example of a property that I saw, and I just wanted to, you know, um, run through some numbers just to give people the idea of how much money they can make if they, implement this strategy. Now, you may not want to do this on every flip that you do, but if you're somebody that flips multiple properties in a year, maybe one or two of the ones that you flip, you may want to do it this way to create that now money, the monthly income, and then obviously the payout in the future, depending on when it is that you want to sell. Um, and again, like I said, you may have to do it because you have some underlying financing or something like that to get paid off, but you can still execute the strategy where you can make some money up front and then make, even more money later on down the line. So if you have any questions or concerns, please reach out to me. I'll pull up my contact information one more time. You can reach out to me there. If you have any questions or if you want to walk through a scenario, um, if you want to walk through a scenario on a property that you have, we can do that. So I think I stopped sharing. So let me go back to that and just show you my information. So reach out to me there and we can talk about your situation and show you what offering seller financing, what you could potentially look at and from a seller finance perspective. All right. Everybody have a good day and we will talk to you soon.